Hi, my name's Lewis and I'm one of the co-founders of the EcoCoin. In 1929, the first Great Depression hit the world. First in America, then spreading around the globe. It was the deepest and widest depression of the 20th century. Global GDP dropped by around 15%. Now, to put that into perspective, the 2008 recession dropped global GDP by just 1%. Of course, it affected the globe differently depending on where you lived. But from large cities to small towns, everyone felt the Great Depression. Just like this town in Horgel, Austria, it suffered deep recessions. Horgel suffered from high unemployment and low economic activity. However, the town's mayor decided to carry out an experiment at the time. The mayor decided to issue his own currency that would decay every single month. Notes circulated around the town, and every month they had to be topped up by the bank by receiving a small mark on them. This would top up them to the original value. So every time they were losing a small bit of their value. The mayor essentially wanted people to not hoard the money but go out and spend it. Now, the experiment began in July of 1932 and resulted in this economic boom, not only in government projects, but also throughout the town. More people were spending, less people were unemployed, and the town recovered significantly quicker than any other town that was similar to it. So this idea of decaying money is not actually a new one. It was first proposed in 1916 by Silvio Gesell in his book, The Natural Economic Order. And his hypothesis was that it would have this positive effect on communities because the money would circulate in a time when people were actually afraid to even go out and spend something. Today we stand on the edge of another Great Depression. This chart shows how many Americans filed for unemployment. Just in the last few weeks, it's skyrocketed. Charts aren't supposed to look like this. And what's worse, we're not just facing an economic crisis or challenge, we're also facing an ecological one at the same time. CO2 has been exponentially growing over the past decades. And it may have slowed in recent months, which is a great thing. It's still not really going to change as our economic models fundamentally have not changed. The problem is that our current model links our economy and our ecology together in this destructive cycle. We've become obsessed with growth, growing our economy over anything else, and we don't really take into account the amount of damage that we're doing to our shared ecology. We can in fact say that we harm our ecology to grow our economy. So we started thinking, what if these two worlds could live more symbiotically together? What do I mean by this? Let's take a concrete example with Alberto. So Alberto is a Brazilian farmer and he lives in the rainforest. He has a choice. He can either burn down the forests, plant soybeans and earn some dollars to feed his family, or he leaves the forest standing, but no money for his family. So somehow we have a system that rewards people for damaging our environment, but not for protecting or growing it. This feels completely backwards to how it should be. So we actually started to imagine a new currency. And we started to think, what if we just rewarded people for their sustainable actions? And this is how we came up with the EcoCoin. It's a way for people to do good and get paid. Then Alberto could earn EcoCoins by protecting or growing the forest. Samantha could eat a meat-free meal and earn Ecos. Patrick could go to the festival, recycle plastic cups and earn Ecos. Or Jim and Jill could just bike to work. So we thought, yeah, this is a really interesting idea. Let's go and put it out into the world. Let's go and test it. Luckily, we had the opportunity to work with a few different festivals here in the Netherlands. The first one being a digital festival, where we could actually examine how our currency would work. Festivals are a great testing spot because they're sort of like a microeconomy where you'd find everything in a city only condensed into this small landscape and running over 2 to 7 days. So you can really test your hypothesis and see what works and what doesn't. For the EcoCoin, what we did was we created a marketplace where there was a number of different ways in which you could earn EcoCoins and also spend them at the same time. They were actually stored on the festival's wristband, so they had a digital RFID chip, which we then used as a wallet, essentially, to load and unload the EcoCoins. Visitors of the festival could earn EcoCoins by carrying out various different actions. So, for example, they could go and plant wildflowers on the festival terrain, which was approved by a local botanist. We were also looking for waste or resource streams. So, for example, in one of the festivals, they were building a stage using wood, and there was a lot of offcuts. So we took those offcuts and we allowed the festival visitors to actually build birdhouses out of those waste pieces of wood. You could also earn ecos by changing your energy provider. So this is a really big thing that an individual can do, which has a really great impact, not just on that day, but over a long period of time. So some of the ways in which you could earn were very small nudges, for instance, like the plastic glasses going back. But others were much more intrinsic, much bigger, and had a psychological effect. So we're trying to change just behaviors in the short term, but really trying to trigger people about thinking on the long term. We rewarded people with green products, services, and experiences. We tried to focus on the services and experiences over the products because obviously they have a smaller footprint. So here, a fantastic company uses waste food that would have gone to landfill and actually makes smoothies out of them. So you could buy them with EcoCoins. We tried to make it as inclusive as possible. So children were even carrying out activities and earning EcoCoins, which they could then swap for a digital photo or even a music download. And we even had a secret club on the actual festival terrain where you could only get into if you had earned so many EcoCoins. So we were, they were called the VEPs, so they were very ecological persons. And this was really about changing the narrative around what a VIP should be. It shouldn't just be about money, but it should be about sustainable status. So it's making sustainability desirable and making it about access as opposed to consumption. So we learned a ton from our experimentations at festivals. We knew we needed to make it more social, as currencies are this social technology. We also knew that we needed to make it more scalable. The wristbands were fantastic for that context, but it's very difficult to wear a wristband forever. And also to make it more secure and easier to use. And so we took all of this feedback and we started working. So we started to create this standalone app that could be integrated into many different contexts. So with the EcoCoin app, you could then see what actions can be done around you, as well as how that would be verified. So that could be through an inspector who's running an activity, it could be through a QR code, or it could be a sensor that's already inbuilt into your phone. So you could think of riding a bike, for example. Your phone already knows that. So if you share that data, then you could instantly get EcoCoins. We could also build out a marketplace and fill it with great sustainable goodies. And here we can start then really curating the marketplace based off of the interests of the community that we're working with. So for example, we've even made it possible to donate your EcoCoins because that was something that one of the communities we worked with really wanted to do. Not only that, we're really interested in the gamification aspect. So often we treat money as mime. So you could play one-on-one against each other and be the top ecological person. But you could also cooperate together. So you could, for instance, earn as a team and then go spend it on team prizes. So much bigger prizes that would then radiate around the community. Now, obviously, people are motivated differently. Some like to do things for themselves. Some like to donate. Some want to be the best at something, whilst others are really in it for the community spirit. And to us, it doesn't really matter it's just really important that people are changing their behaviors and understanding that they can be a part and contribute to a better world. So we took all of these improvements and we went and tested them with some students at the Erasmus University Rotterdam. And they've actually been using the EcoCoin now for 3 years. And what's great is that the students have really co-created it with the campus, essentially. So they've created their own system, which has been contextualized and has even started to spread out into Rotterdam City. So they've been looking at volunteering, for example, to earn eco-coins at food forests or other community projects, looking to link up with local farm-to-table restaurants. The students could even rent a Tesla for the weekend, which I heard was very popular. So the big thing next was, okay, how do we make this financially sustainable? It obviously takes something to run a currency. How do we make sure that there's a feasible business model underlying it? And we were lucky to be approached here by a lot of global companies who were interested in the EcoCoin being implemented with their staff and in their offices for 2 reasons, we think. Firstly, we're reducing their CO2 footprints. But secondly, it's about behavioral change, not only on a personal level, but also very much on an organizational level and throughout the organization. So here's an example that we worked with L'Oreal at one of their headquarters here in the Netherlands. It has around 250 staff in it. And here we also started to map the amount of eco-coins earned to the amount of CO2 reduced. In the end of the first month, we had 75% of the staff actually sign up and use it, which for us was a really big win. Partly because, they struggle to sometimes get people even to fill in a survey. So this was a really high engagement rate. They carried out 4,000 actions in 1 month, and that equates or created a CO2 reduction of 8,000 kilograms, which is more than 60 flights from Amsterdam to Paris. What's more, we actually saved them money. So we saved them 3,000 euros, and this was from energy efficiencies and transport costs. And this made it viable for us to have a business model around it. I think what was most important to us was the cultural shift. So we had an external third-party survey carried out, and at the end of the first month, 83% of the staff said that they were thinking about sustainability in their daily lives more than they were beforehand. To us, this is fantastic, because it creates this spillover effect in the organization where it's not just the CSR department talking about sustainability anymore, but it's the marketing and it's the accountants and it's so many more other people. And for us, that's a really great win, because it's kind of like using a currency as a Trojan horse to get sustainable thinking into a larger organization. For us, we're going to continue to work with businesses and festivals, but we're also really interested in how we can expand and how we can scale things up. So for this, we turned to the city. So by 2030, 60% of humans will live in cities. So this feels like a peak opportunity for us to try and leverage the cities. So we actually had the opportunity to start working with the municipality first. And that was fantastic. And, if we can change the mindset of the 20,000 civil servants working for Amsterdam, you can have huge exponential growth here. So cities are 3% of the world's footprint, but take up 75% of the world's resources. So if we can change something within a city context, hopefully we can do it in any city. Here you can see us planning a co-creation session with the government employees. Here's one of the launching days. Where you can see, we put a lot of communication effort into making sure that people understand how to use the currency. And here are some of the results. So again, there was 10,000 or 10 tons of CO2 reduced in just 1 month, working in just one building. So we're really interested in how we can scale this up. And we've been talking about it, obviously, from a building perspective, but we're also interested in how we can link these things up. So we have festivals, we have universities, we have the government, and how can we bring all of these into one bigger macro economy? And so for that, we've actually been talking to the Knowledge Mile, which is a business district in Amsterdam that has 200 organizations and 60,000 people, students, workers, residents, and we're trying to bring the EcoCoin to the neighborhood scale. So we've spent a lot of time dreaming, researching, building and running this new currency that rewards sustainable action. We also have huge ambitions for the future, which you can find on our white paper on our website at ecocoin.com. We're also exploring the use of blockchain technologies on how we might better scale and utilize that technology in the future, from democratizing our currency using a DAO or a decentralized autonomous organization, backing our currency with sustainable assets, giving it intrinsic value, and even adding a demurrage or a decay like I showed in the example of Horgel I shared at the start. But essentially today we're in this perfect moment to decide what we want to do with our future and how we want to best design or redesign our money and our economy for the better. We can't just simply go back to normal. Just like in the times after the Great Depression, we need new thinking, we need new resilient, sustainable economies and inclusive currency models. We're working on just one of these models, but I'm very optimistic that in the future there'll be a plethora and we'll be using loads of different currencies to make a better world together. Thank you for listening to my talk today. There's a live Q&A following this shortly after, so if you want to stick around and ask me some questions, I'm happy to answer them for you. My name's Lewis, and I'm one of the co-founders of EcoCoin.